What's going on, good people? Welcome to the After Effects Show Times College Football Final Episode 109. I'm your host, LeBron Stephen, but you can call me LBZ, L Boogie, Big Bron, Big Ron, LB, Barani. The choice is yours, but you already knew that. And y'all know how we do. Let's just dive right in. All right, so we had the first round of the college football playoff. One game on Friday, December 19th, and 3 games on Saturday, December 20th. Let's start with Friday night's game, number 9, Alabama at number 8, Oklahoma. Alabama was able to pull out with the win 34-24. Alabama had 260 total yards. Yes, 260 total yards. They were down 0-17 in the second quarter. Rallied back in the second quarter, scoring 17 in the second quarter. There was a 50-yard interception, pick 6, with 1 minute and 18 seconds left to tie the game up before the halftime. So shout out to the Alabama Roll Tide. They were getting their ass whooped, and they were able to dig deep and come back and ended up beating Oklahoma on their home field in Norman, Oklahoma. Quarterback Ty Simpson went 18 for 29, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought he was very balanced in his passing attack. No wide receivers had over 80 yards. I think one had 79, another one had like 65, another one had 55. So Ty Simpson led a very balanced passing attack. And on the other side, quarterback John Mateer went 26 for 41, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I did think John Mateer played well for the most part. At the end of the day, they just weren't able to make more plays than Alabama. I had Alabama winning this game. I obviously thought that they would start better in the first quarter, but I know Oklahoma beat Alabama earlier in the season, so I knew Alabama would, play a little harder, play a little tougher. So it was interesting to see them start off so bad in that first quarter. But they were able to rally back. Oklahoma wide receiver Deion Burks had 7 catches for 107 yards, 1 touchdown. And, to me, the biggest the biggest take back from this game was the second quarter. Second quarter starting, Alabama was down 0-17. And to go into halftime tied up, that's a true testament to Alabama digging deep and, continuing to fight. Right, it's win or go home in the playoffs. So they were able to fight and pull out with the win. So it looks like Alabama will take on number 1 Indiana in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. I think that would be a massive matchup. Shout out to Alabama. They lost to Oklahoma earlier in the season. They did not play well in the SEC championship, and they did not play well in the first quarter of the game, but they were able to pull out with the win. Roll Tide on to the next round, semifinals versus number 1 Indiana. That should be a good one. Next game we got on the slate, we had number 10 Miami versus number 7 Texas A&M, and Miami was able to pull out with this win 10-3. If you watch this game, this was a massive defensive game. There was only 1 touchdown score in the entire game, and that was in the fourth quarter by Miami. I believe first half was 0-0, and then both teams scored 3 points via field goal in the third quarter. But, I was actually surprised. Quarterback Marcel Reed and Texas A&M, they've had a crazy explosive offense, and Marcel Reed has led them with his arm and his legs, and they just could not move the ball. They couldn't do much. They moved the ball, but every time they got in the red zone, they couldn't capitalize and score touchdowns. I think it was a true testament to Miami's defense, their defensive line led by Ruben Bain, and shout out to the D-line coach, Jason Taylor. Texas A&M was able to move the ball a little bit. I believe quarterback Marcel Reed went 25 for 39, 237 yards, but he threw 2 costly interceptions. He didn't throw for any touchdowns. Like I said, when they got in the red zone, they weren't able to capitalize. Ironically, both of his touchdowns went to Miami DB freshman Bryce Fitzgerald, both of them. And the last one was really costly. They were driving, they were in the red zone. He ended up throwing that pick in the end zone, I believe. Miami quarterback Carson Beck had a mediocre game, 14 for 20, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. So he barely threw over 100 yards. Like I said, this was a defensive game. Neither team did much on offense, and it was a surprise to me. I thought Texas A&M being at home and having that home crowd ready to go, I thought that this would be a shootout. And a lot of their games, the lion's share of their games this season has been shootouts, high-scoring games, and they typically put up a lot of points. But Texas A&M just cannot do anything with Miami's defense. So shout out to the U. Miami is moving on, and they'll play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on December 31st. Every Miami-Ohio State game in bowl games or national championships has been epic. So I don't think this one will be no different. Should be a good one. Carson Beck versus Julian Sand. A really good Ohio State defense versus a really good Miami defense. That's all we got for that one. Next on the slate. All right, next on the slate, we got the 2 blowout, and I called it. So we got number 22 Tulane versus number 6 Ole Miss. Ole Miss won 41-10. Quarterback Trinidad Shameless went 23 for 29, 282 yards, 1 touchdown. Running back Kawan Lacey had 15 carries for 87 yards. Wide receiver Deuce Alexander had 7 receptions for 87 yards. And wide receiver Deshaun Stribling had 5 catches of 79 yards, 1 touchdown. Ole Miss did not struggle in this game at all. This game was not really competitive. I did think Tulane's quarterback played well. Quarterback Jake Retzlaff went 20 for 35, 306 yards, and 1 touchdown. But definitely a boring game. Ole Miss jumped out on Tulane's ass pretty early, and Tulane never really had a chance. So I guess my question to the audience would be, what can college football playoff system do next year and all the years after that just to have better games, right? I know the winner of Tulane's conference and the winner of James Madison's conference, they get an automatic bid, but for these last 2 years with this 12-team model, the games just haven't been competitive. I should have done more research on what those games were last year, but these games this year just weren't competitive. You would have definitely rather had saw maybe like an Ole Miss versus Notre Dame and maybe like an Oregon versus BYU. But, these 2 games just weren't competitive. Let me know what you all think in the comments. Thought Ole Miss, really came out and played with a chip on their shoulders due to Lane Kiffin choosing to leave and go to LSU. And, they came out and demolished Tulane. Ole Miss will move on, and they'll play number 3 Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. That should be a good one. Can't remember who won Ole Miss versus Georgia earlier in the season. I want to say Georgia, but we'll dive deeper into those games for the preview as we preview the semifinals of the college football playoff. And the last game we got on the slate is number 4 James Madison or JMU versus number 5 Oregon. Oregon was able to pull out this win 51-34. This game, as I kind of alluded to earlier, this game was not close. At the halftime, it was 34-6. But Oregon's quarterback Dante Moore with 19 for 27, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, but he had a very accurate game, very explosive game. Only having 19 completions, but for 313 yards. Wide receiver Malik Benson had 5 of those catches for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was very explosive on offense. Running back Jordan Davidson had 10 carries for 90 yards. I really thought Oregon's defense flew around and they made plays. JMU was able to kind of rally and compete in the second half. Like I said, at the halftime it was 34-6, and then they scored 14 in the third quarter, but Oregon scored 14 in the third quarter as well. So final score ended up being 51-34. Oregon's moving on, and they will play number 4 Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl down in Miami. So that should be a really good one. But kind of like I alluded to earlier, what can we do with these at-large bids, the Tulanes, the JMUs, who for the last 2 years with this 12-team model have just not showed up ready to play. Both of these games were blowouts. Not interested to see the viewership for these 2 games, just because obviously that they don't have as much build up as the Alabamas versus Oklahomas and the Miamis versus Texas A&M. So interested to see what kind of quirks and tweaks the College Football Playoff Committee can at least discuss this summer, and hopefully kind of roll out next year to make the 12-team college football playoff just more competitive. But that's just my opinion. If you all have different opinions, leave them in the comments. So that is all we had on the slate. Looking forward to the semifinals here after Christmas. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, please subscribe to LeBron Daniel TV and turn your notifications on. If you are listening to this podcast, wherever you get your pods, please subscribe to the After Effect Show. And I believe this is the last episode before Christmas, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hopefully you are around your loved ones and get to spread cheer and have a good spirit. So yeah, until the next time, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.